The year was 605 BC. Jerusalem had fallen, not with a single crash of walls, but with the slow, grinding surrender of a city that had forgotten its God. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon rode through the broken gates like a storm cloud, his bronze armor flashing under a merciless sun. Behind him marched columns of captives, and among the treasures his soldiers carried away were golden cups and lamps that had once stood in the temple of the living God. In the royal palace of Babylon, a city so vast its walls looked like mountain ranges, the king gave a single command to Ashpenaz, master of the eunuchs: "Find me the best of Judah's blood, boys from the royal house and the nobility. No blemishes, sharp minds, handsome, quick learners. Bring them here. I will remake them into Babylonians." Ashpenaz obeyed. He walked through the lines of prisoners until he found 4 young men who stood out like torches in a dark room. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. They were perhaps 16, maybe 17, old enough to know fear but young enough to hide it. Their clothes were torn, their faces streaked with the dust of the long road from Jerusalem, yet something in their eyes made Ashpenaz pause. These 4, he thought. These will do. He gave them new names that very day, names that tasted like incense and foreign gods. Daniel became Belteshazzar, Bel protect his life. Hananiah became Shadrach, command of Aku, the moon god. Mishael became Meshach, who is what Aku is. Azariah became Abednego, servant of Nebo. The names were meant to erase who they had been. They were led into a 3-year school of empire, mornings filled with the scratch of styluses on clay tablets, Chaldean grammar, astronomy, the secrets of dreams. Afternoons in the gymnasiums, learning to run, wrestle, and bow like courtiers. Evenings at the king's table, where the food steamed with spices no Jew had ever tasted. Pork simmered in wine. Rich stews offered first to Marduk and Ishtar. Wine poured out to the stars. Daniel tasted none of it. On the very first night, while the other youths stuffed themselves and laughed too loudly to hide their fear, Daniel quietly asked the steward who watched over them, a nervous man named Melzar, for a private word. "I cannot eat the king's food," Daniel said, voice low but steady. "It would defile me before my God." Melzar's face went pale. "Boy, if you grow thin and sickly, the king will have my head." Daniel did not argue. He simply made a proposal calm as morning. "Test us for 10 days. Give my friends and me nothing but vegetables and water. Then look at us. Compare us to the others. After that, decide." Melzar stared at the boy who should have been terrified but somehow wasn't. Something in Daniel's eyes made the steward nod against all reason. 10 days. 10 days of lentils, beans, barley bread, and clear water from the river, while everyone else feasted on royal delicacies. On the 10th morning, Melzar came early. He walked down the dormitory aisle, lifting chins, studying faces. When he reached the 4 Judeans, he stopped and stared. Their skin glowed. Their eyes were bright. Their bodies looked stronger, not weaker. They stood straighter than any of the others, as if the plain food had fed something deeper than flesh. Melzar exhaled a long, shaky breath. "Keep eating your vegetables," he whispered, "and may your God keep you alive." So it went for 3 years. The 4 friends studied, prayed in secret, and refused the king's wine. And God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom. To Daniel, He gave understanding in visions and dreams of every kind. When the day finally came for the young men to stand before Nebuchadnezzar himself, the king leaned forward on his throne of lapis lazuli and gold. One by one, the graduates were questioned. On law, on astronomy, on the interpretation of omens. None satisfied him. Then came Daniel and his 3 friends. The king asked one hard question after another. Their answers rang out clear, 10 times wiser than all the magicians and enchanters in his realm. Nebuchadnezzar sat back, astonished. "In every matter of wisdom and understanding that I asked them," he said later, shaking his head, "I found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers in my kingdom." And so 4 young captives from a conquered city took their places among the highest counselors of the greatest empire on earth. But they never forgot who they really were, and the God they served in secret had only just begun to move.